Hi everyone, I'm Victoria.
I'm Laura.
I'm Francesca.
And welcome to Novel Nights. Today we are doing summer tropes. We have so many amazing book recommendations with you. We can't wait to get into it. So if you want to get some good book summer trope recommendations, stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Francesca.
I'm Victoria.
I'm Laura.
And welcome to Novel Nights. Hey! Welcome to Novel Nights, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here with us and you're joining us today, this Thursday. Novel Nights is our live show that we're doing every Thursday. So I hope you'll join us and continue to join us week in, week out at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you're watching somewhere outside of the US, just know it's just 7 p.m. New York time. So whatever the time is in New York, 7 p.m., just do the conversion and join us because we have lots to chat about. But Francesca, what's been going on, girl?
Oh my God, so much. I feel like I've been deep in summer reading all the things summer. So I'm excited. But actually, I wanted to have a little chat before we dive into summer stuff because the New York Times, as you guys know, released their 100 most influential books of the century so far. And I am a little salty, so I had to come and discuss it here. So I guess if you guys know, you can actually go on the New York Times website and you can go through the list. But not only that, you can mark which books you've read, which ones you want to read, and it will actually give you a little TBR, which is really nice for the ones that you do want to read in case. I went through it. I actually haven't really read that much from that list. And I do have one that I want to read, which is the 5th season. It is fantasy. It's been on my TBR forever. I really don't know why I haven't read it because I know it's going to be amazing and I know I need to read it. So I've had the audiobook for years. But what I wanted to talk about more so than how many you guys have read is what do you think about the selection? Because I'm a little salty about the fact that there's no romance and there's no mystery and thrillers. There's really also no fantasy besides, I just talked about N.K. Jemisin. But what is up with the fact that none of these genres are included in most influential books of the century? What do you guys think?
Okay, so I'm going to jump in because I know Francesca is salty. Okay,
salty.
There's no romance, there's not a lot of variety, right? I did notice, there's no thriller, so no romance, but there's also no real thriller in the sense, psychological thriller and so on. So my theory is that it isn't so much about what is influential. And I mean, look, I have gripes with the Times too, but I'm starting to think it's not really so much about what is influential. It's probably about well-written books, thought-provoking books. It really leans very heavy on the literary. Now, I ain't too salty about that because I am a literary girly by heart. So I read quite a bit of the books on the list. I'll share that with you soon. But my initial reaction is I don't think the New York Times really wanted to focus on who and what was super influential. I really think they're focusing on form, so prose, and just either something that was really thought-provoking, beautifully written, and will stand the test of time. But I have to say there are a lot more influential, like by definition, influential books that should be on the list. So, I mean, I'm just going to say it. And I'm not even a big romance girly like you guys, but 50 Shades of Grey should have been there because that was hella influential. It caused mad conversations. I remember working full time in radiology department, and like the department was divided, you guys. Like half of us were like, we're reading it. And then the other half were like criticizing us, saying we're trash. And there was like this all like film processor in the center of the department, kind of like where we gather, like at the viewing screen. You know, it's old school, it's there. And I'd be there and I'd be reading, and every time like the supervisor and a couple of people went by, they would say, "Oh my gosh, that is trash." Like, what do you I think also Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, because it was just really influential. Like it blew people's mind. I think it really put back the psychological thriller book on the map. That's just my opinion. So those are two books I'm actually advocating for in terms of influential that should have been on the list. But I want to hear from Laura. Laura, what do you think?
Oh, I didn't bother looking at that list because I was like, I'm not going to be able. So the New York Times released their reading choice, which is a top 100 today. And I read the Year of Rest and Relaxation. I was like, really? This book that's about nothing? It's made it to the top 100. I enjoyed it, but it really was about freaking nothing. So I think the list lacked romance, it lacked thrillers, it lacked commercial fiction. Yes, it had, you know, Demon Head, Barbara Kingsolver. It had like some of the greatest hits. It had, you know, the boy that we cannot speak about. So it did have some of those hits, but still did miss the biggest genres that are selling books: thrillers and romance. Those are the genres that actually, you know, people are reading, you know, they're for reading. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, I agree with you absolutely. So folks, if you're watching right now, let us know in the comments, what do you think about the 100 best books of the 21st century from the New York Times? Like, what are your thoughts? Sound off, replay crew, if you're watching this live, sound off in the comments. We want to hear from you on your thoughts about the New York Times best 100 books of the century. Okay, so real quick, right? I took some screenshots because I'm like, we're going to talk about it, but I do want to present the facts. Now, this was voted on, I'm reading, 500 novelists, nonfiction, writers, poets, critics, and other book lovers with a little help from the staff of the New York Times Book Review. Okay, cool. So like here, it really gets into it. And the requirements were that they should name the 10 best books. So all the people they reached out to should name the 10 best books published since January 1st, 2000. So we have people like Stephen King who took part, Claudia Rankin. I love Claudia Rankin, and her book made it, by the way. James Patterson, Sarah Jessica Parker was chiming in. I'm like, okay, cool. And a bunch of other people. So like that is kind of like the direction they were going in. So then I read the fine print, right? I wanted to know the methodology. So according to this, they reached out to all these people. I was happy to see they reached out to librarians, and they said they let the people participating define best in their own way. So best could mean favorite. So even though I was saying I felt like the list was very focused on books of literary merit, it is clear that best could mean different things to different people. So it could be just a favorite or something you think that can live on. So it's clear, you know, they had their little methodology and stuff. Now, this is my thing. I read 48 books from that list. I'm a very literary girly at heart. So I wasn't surprised. And then I marked 14 books as stuff I wanted to read. So these are just like some of my tally. This is legit the screenshot of my tally. Laura said she's with it. It is fine. And then there's some books here that I want to read. Like I haven't read The New Jim Crow. I'd love to read that. I'd love to read Bel Canto. That has been on my list mentally forever. Lincoln in the Bardo. I wanted to read that. The Corrections. Middlesex. Read that a whole bunch. So I have stuff there. But the things that I liked. And I love seeing that my brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante technically was like in the #1 spot because I love that book. I love seeing the Wolf Hall trilogy, although they did split the books. So it's like technically like Wolf Hall, and I think another book was on there. I really enjoyed that. So I'm salty a little, but not as much because I've read quite a bit. So I know Francesca be salty, but I'm kind of okay-ish.
Well, honestly, they should have just called it the best literary fiction of the century because it doesn't make any sense to say that the only books that have literary merit or that they're well written and influential are only literary books. So, because there's a lot of really well written thrillers, a lot of really well written and influential romance. So, like, it's objective, and I feel like some of these authors, because like you can actually go and look on their website, you can look through the lists from everybody that submitted. So like all of these people that they took the books from, you can see what they submitted, and you can definitely see there's some authors that were completely ignored.
Oh, 100%. Okay, so
there was a curator in the back going like, this is what we like and this is what we're going to put, and we'll just say that we reached out to these people so people are happy.
Okay, so for your benefit, I did screenshot Sarah McLean. Again, for your benefit, Francesca. See. Okay.
Like, you're going to tell me that Cersei is not an influential book? Because, like, it's... Come on now.
Okay. I think just by looking at it, so, you know, for folks who are not familiar, Sarah McLean writes romance. It says there in the description, right? So to see, because it was lacking romance, what does a romance writer recommend? I mean, some of these books, like I love anything Uzma Jalaluddin writes, so I will read that period, or to buy or to read. I like that one. I will say Aisha at Last.
Much better.
Listen. So for me, you know, so it just goes back to the subjectivity, right? I've read Kate Claiborne. I enjoy, you know, the books. I don't know if I would have picked it. I'm just saying. You know, Sassy read it, appreciated it. But, you know, so this is why I'm realizing it is hella subjective. So I don't know. I mean, what was your take when you saw Sarah McLean, considering like, you know, y'all are heavy on the romance?
Well, obviously, I know that she's got some books there there's a bit of a mix. I don't agree that some of these would be necessarily influential, also in my opinion, but there's some in here that I feel that they really are, especially when we're talking about romance. Like Beverly Jenkins should have been on that list in some way, shape, or form, period. I mean, she's picking just one book, but really could be subjectively anything. It's just the point that she should have been on the list. And also, in my opinion, somebody like Lisa Kleypas. It's like a staple of a genre, you know. So I agree with the Uzma Jalaluddin. I really enjoyed it. I understand the point of why she would put her on the list, but at the same time, I can also understand why that's not necessarily going to make it to like a top 100 of the century. You know, the writing was nice. I really enjoyed her books, but like, can I say that it's like the most amazing writing style? You know, no.
I get it. But see, it's like,
so but there's certain people that's like, how can you like have a list of influential and like not mention certain people that have been trailblazers? So.
I don't know. It's like, for me, there's a difference between books that are well written, okay, that are like flawless, versus books that how should I say it? Versus books that are influential. Like sometimes the books that make people read and that like you know, like just brings a whole large group of people together to read, doesn't equate it to be the best. Does that make sense? So for me, I think it needed to be more clearly defined.
Right.
Are we focusing on books that, you know, are super influential, got people to read, started conversations, you know, just really did that? Or are we focusing on books that are beautifully written, that are flawless? Like, because you have some books, I have to tell you, on a sentence level, they're brilliant. They're just, again, you can't beat it, but I don't know what the Times is doing.
again, even when I think of it that way, you can't tell me that you're going to pick 100 literary fiction books because of like sentence structure, and there's no other genre that has amazing sentence structure. That's BS.
True. Another category that was lacking for me was fantasy. Like, just because I know we've been talking about the romance, we brought up the thrillers, but the only fantasy I saw was N.K. Jemisin's book, and I'm like, the Fifth Season. I'm like,
that is
there's
so much good fantasy out there, like really well written fantasy that's both influential, beautiful sentence structure, like all of those things. So I mean, come on.
I know.
It was an arbitrary decision, period.
Needless to say, it sounds like we're not the biggest fans of the Times.
Never will be. It's all right.
Oh my gosh. But folks, if you're watching, let us know. What do you think about the New York Times, the 100 best books of the 21st century? They decided they were going to be spicy, right?
Yeah.
They were dropping this list super, super, super early. Technically, it should be, the first 25 years. I'm like, hello, 2024 hasn't even finished yet, right? We're still here, and we have all of 2025. Yeah. Like, let's wait. Let's wait, John.
The world is ending. That's why it's fine. We need it early.
Okay, facts. The state of the world is it's a bit crazy. So we'll see how that goes. But again, if you're watching us live, replay crew, let us know in the comments about the 100 best books of the 21st century. What do you think about the New York Times? Do you think they could have been more inclusive in terms of genres? What do you think they could have done better? Let us know. And because we'd love to hear from you. We really would love to hear your opinions on the best books. Do you think they should have at least waited till next year this time?
For
sure. My theory is the last big push for books, and coming from someone who kind of works with books, is the fall. Like September is a big time. That's when we're going to get another big push of the big books. Sally Rooney is coming out with a new book in September. That's a good idea. I'm so happy watching. But yeah, it's. I think they should have waited because there's so many books out there that readers haven't even read yet, and they don't even know what's happening. But I want to shout out my girl Vesna, who just dropped a comment. Vesna says, I don't really pay attention to these lists. The best books I have found are those that are recommended to me by my friends or ladies in my book club. Vesna has a book club, y'all, and they be discussing the books. And I agree. I lean in to my friends to get book recommendations. I actually think the average person, people who aren't as obsessed with books as us, who are paying attention to what comes out when, I think most of them get their book recommendations from their friends, their family, people they know, or maybe even when they go to like the bookstore or the library, they're recommending books to them. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Even sometimes just browsing whatever the bookstores will put on the shelves.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm a big browser of Libby or the library to see what the librarians recommend and like what they curate, just what's been trusted and whatnot. I find that that's actually a much more helpful place to find books.
Yeah. Also, I'm a big mood reader, so I just wing it.
Yeah.
Facts.
I'm just browsing, and that's it. Just like, this sounds good. Let's just try it.
Yeah. I wing a lot of books. I get recommendations from friends when I go to the library. My library is very good based on the books I borrowed from them. And I will admit, most of the books I borrow from the library tend to be audio. I still get physical books from time to time, but heavy, like my audio consumption is like 80%. Anyways, based on what I've listened and, based on my profile, every month at the top of the month, they will send like this is your recommended list for this month. And it's a mix of new books that are coming out as well as older books. So yeah, my library keeps me fed. I don't have an indie bookstore near me. Okay. So that's not applicable. But I lean heavy on friends. So yeah, Vesna, we agree with you. We agree with you 100%. What else do you all think about the list? Any other thoughts on the list? Any other final thoughts?
I'm just gonna skip it. Just basically just another.
I got it out of my system. It's fine.
Yeah. Also, I want to say good evening, Sandy. Hi, Sandy. I hope you're doing well. Let us know what you think about the New York Times list, the 100 best books of the 21st century. If you saw the list, let us know what you think. They decided to get really exciting and put this list out here for the first quarter of this century, and they didn't even wait for 2024 to end. So this is what they get. We also have another comment from Sophie. Sophie says, hi, I feel like they missed way too many great books. The top 10 didn't even include Stephen King. Like, what was the criteria?
Really? They asked for his feedback, but we did not include him.
Facts. They did ask for his feedback. And by the way, I think Sophie will appreciate this. Like, it's my handbag proper. And in my handbag, I had a dentist appointment. And while I was waiting, okay, I'm in the middle of You Like It Darker story collection. But yeah, I'm a big King fan. Okay, he writes.
Oh my God.
They asked his opinion. He his own book. I think he wrote his own book. I'm tempted to go log in now and go look. But I'm almost sure he was the only author, or there was an author who recommended their own book. And I'm like, yeah.
Promotion. You know you're gonna get a little bit of like sales. I know. You might as well.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm living.
Yeah, Sandy's got Ice Planet Barbarians. Listen, it was influential.
That was influential. Like I'm not, again, romance was ignored, even though it is a high selling genre that makes a lot of money. And a lot of romance are the top 10 of the New York Times bestseller list. And not just like regular romance, like indie romance that did get the print rights so they can actually sell more copies. So yeah, and Ice Planet Barbarian was one of those who got print rights, and they are selling those new books. So yeah.
It is. I mean, and also I feel like I have to say something for Ice Planet Barbarians though, because it was so massive that I actually saw people that have either A, never read a book, B, never read romance, and C, definitely, even if they've read romance, never read alien romance. And they were gobbling that up. Like they read the first one thinking that it was going to be a joke, and then they literally like binged the whole series.
20 books. But this series is not just one or two, it's 20 books.
I mean, I will admit I'm not one of them. I read the first one before it got popular on Book Talk because Suzanne forced me to. And I couldn't get the image of like that creature from Monsters, Inc. out of my head when I was thinking about the hero. I couldn't do it.
I ended up binging like 5 of them and like back to back, and then I was like, okay, I need to like
take a break.
But I think it's a genre. It's something that got people to read. I think sometimes it's another one that just got you to read. Twilight is another example. Like that.
Twilight should have also been
able to read, and got the YA people. Like, and then the new adults.
What year is Twilight?
2007. So it is still.
It is still. Yeah, it is still. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel old. Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay, so I just checked Stephen King. No, he did not recommend his book, but he did recommend. I had to pull it up on my phone. He recommended Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl, and I'm like, okay. Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes.
I know there's an author on there who recommended their own books, which look, I'm not mad at it. But Stephen King recommended Gone Girl, and I feel in my core that Gone Girl really catapulted psychological thrillers to the forefront in terms, and especially women, right? Like women psychological thrillers. So I'm really happy he mentioned, so he mentioned that. And he mentioned like a couple other books that actually made the list. But it's very interesting who chooses what. But I just love the fact that readers have their own things. Like Sandy has her own book. I'm like, yes. So
you know what really they should have done is they should have broken down that list in genres, or like at least the big genres, and just be like, here are the 10 or 15 for this genre. And then I could have dealt with that. You know what I mean? Because then
100%.
You're actually giving me a variety, because I completely forgot about Twilight, but listen, it should have been included.
Yeah,
I agree. I forgot about Twilight till she just said it, and I was like, wait, maybe
we can't have 50 Shades without Twilight.
Exactly.
It's like you got to go to the root cause.
Yes.
So, yeah.
The root cause of the problem.
And the thing with Gone Girl, we don't have Frida McFadden, who's like popular, who's like running the New York Times bestseller. We wouldn't have Frida McFadden's book if we didn't have Gone Girl, because Gone Girl was kind of like the blueprint of this unreliable narrator, this plotty, twisty, addictive, kind of like you want to keep reading, you cannot stop reading book. And then it opened up like a whole genre that right now is just like is sweeping the New York Times bestsellers and the Amazon Top 100, which is at the end of the day, the Amazon Top 100 is the most showing you what is actually being sold.
Yeah,
that is facts.
Yeah.
It's not the New York Times bestseller. That's a curated list. They curate it based on different trends and different people. So what's actually making money, it's look at the top 100 and see what is actually being sold. And Amazon will tell you, this is sold like thousands of books in this past week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about the New York Times, the 100 best books of the 21st century. I love that we have folks chiming in, okay, from Bessie saying she doesn't pay attention to these lists, okay? She gets it from her friends and family. To Sophie saying they missed too many good books. Sandy is saying that she doesn't think her favorite is on there. I stand Barbarians. It's just very interesting. Who said? Oh yeah. Sandy also said she loves King, but she thinks the list may be pretentious.
Well, yes.
And that is what I'm starting to lean towards. I mean, look, what books in there that I've read? I mean, again, I've read like 48 out of the list. Which, by the way, it has the option, if you guys haven't seen it, to select the books as you go down the line. And I've read 48, and I'm looking forward to 14 because there are 14 books on there that I haven't read yet. But I have to be honest, none of these books are going to captivate the nation. Okay, they're not. I'm just that girl who likes to get lost into characters and story. I don't need a plot, but I think they missed a lot. So I did one more poll, author poll, and it's a thriller author. And I pulled Riley Sager because Riley Sager seems very popular from what I see online. And Riley Sager also picked Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl because, again, for me, that is hella influential.
That's two.
Right. So that's two for Gone Girl. I've seen, like, going through the authors individually to see what their ballots were. So it makes me wonder. Paul Tremblay, who's known for horror, I see he picked Kazuo Ishiguro, probably butchered the name, but picked that one, picked The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. That's a horror I personally feel should have been on the list. And let me see, Jenna Bush Hager. So Jenna Bush Hager is the book club lady now. And if you look at her picks, they're very literary. And I will admit, I love a Jenna Bush Hager. I tend to read more Jenna Bush Hager books than any of the celebrity book club picks. And from Jenna's list, 5 were selected for the actual list. So that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
That was the vibe. That was the vibe.
It was just literary fiction. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just literally fiction. So
Okay, here's a fiction book that should be.
Sandy actually makes a really good point, though, that she's also unhappy with the Goodreads annual picks, and I completely agree with that. 100%. Like, if we're gonna get salty about these things, that one is also
throw them in the mix.
Atrocious.
That I don't know how they choose. They're like, it's based on your shelving unit and all their stuff. And I'm like, it's a curated list of like what you think you should do, but you're not in touch with actual people reading the books and reviewing the books and putting a better rating the books. Like you're not looking at your own data, which is like that's what pisses me off. It's like look at your own data and like pull on graphs and come up with like the plan.
Yeah. And even the books that they put in the romance category, 90% of the time are not romance.
Yes.
Put it somewhere else.
No,
yes. But that's why they have romantasy. They because everyone's complaining that Sarah J. Maas was always winning, and now Rebecca Yarros going to win. So they just created a new category for those. But then they eliminate other categories.
Win.
Yes, they eliminate categories, and the same authors are going to win, like the top 100, like know. So the book of the month always gets like a slot. Like even though there might not be like a popular book, it's a book of the month.
Advertising.
Yes.
I mean, I don't get it. I really don't. Again, if you're watching us, chime in and let us know your thoughts. We're clearly coming for everybody.
Yes.
We started with the New York Times. Now we're chatting about Goodreads. But Replay Crew, if you're watching as well, let us know in the comments. What do you think about the books on this list? I mean, I think you know what? The Times did it for clicks. They did it for clicks.
Yeah.
Because I still stand on the hill. I know you want to get ahead, and I support getting ahead behind the scenes. I would have waited till next year this time, at least. And actually, I would have waited until the September crop of books kind of really, comes through. Because September is when you're really going to get the last push of books for the year, like the big books that they're looking towards. Then the end of September, give us the list. But now I'm like, no. So I'm not a fan. Vesta said that she loves Book of the Month. Who loves Book of the Month?
I was a subscriber, but I don't read physical books. But I do appreciate every so often having those curated lists and see what people are reading. So it gives you an insight about like here's some books and stuff like that. I found it interesting, but at the same time they're curated lists, so they might miss on BIPOC authors. They might miss on other genres, and it's just basically some of the most popular books. And so you might look at other lists that like may have no disability or queer representation or based on different things, and I wish there was more, but I know they're limited about the amount of books they have to present because they're managing inventory. They have to produce these books.
I think that's another question. Where do you get your recommendations, like the under the radar books? Like where do you discover like those under the radar books? Because most of the popular books that we see tend to have like most of the marketing dollars behind them, which is why you know about them way in advance. Or if it's like an author who has an established following, obviously you're going to know about their books way in advance. So yeah, it's always tough kind of picking. But you know what? I just had a thought, like the New York Times, with all the resources that they have, they should have sent a survey to subscribers. Like people who subscribe, people who follow the book review or, like do an article and like, hear from just like regular readers.
Yeah.
Because I think that would have made a huge difference. I'm not saying, you have to publish names and kind of go through the whole rigmarole like they did for the authors. I understand like that's resources, that's different. But just ask people to submit and have like a 1 month submission period. And then you all just tally through and see the ones that came up big and then put it through for like rounds of voting. Like, what do you call that? March Madness, is it?
Yeah. I mean, in theory, that sounds great, but that's what they do with Goodreads.
Yes.
So, and we see the result.
No, but question. Do people submit to Goodreads first?
You have to shelve. You have to read, rate, and shelve the book, and the book.
No. But that's the problem. Like they want you.
No, there used to be. I don't know if anymore, but there used to be.
They don't have write-in. The write-in they eliminated that too,
Okay.
like this past year or 2 years ago. They eliminated that option, and even those write-in doesn't like barely made it for the one round, and then they just magically drop off.
Yeah,
So,
which is why I'm saying I feel like even though there's technically like reader input in those, you're really not getting it on the final because they're controlling it. So in theory, that would be the best way to go about it. But because of how we know that they run their business, it's not going to translate into giving us that information. Because obviously, that would be the best thing that they can do is pull their readers, their own readers, like New York Times book review readers.
That's what I mean.
What do they like?
Well, that's why they did the top 100 of them, because they got complaints. So we do have a top 100, but the top 100 doesn't include like any romance, and barely, I don't think it even has a thriller. So
no thriller, no horror, no fantasy.
No horror, no fantasy. Well, there is some fantasy. There's Harry Potter, but there's like, what are we asking? Like, so,
Oh, okay. So I just checked my app. They have now a reader pick.
Yes.
So the New York Times has the reader's pick. I forgot to mention that. So they have the reader's selection. I wonder if I can. No, I don't think I can share my screen on this one. Let me see. But let me see if I can. But the reader thing has a whole new list. Like it's very, very, very different. So I don't know. I guess they were like, man, this is really bad.
Yes, that's where Odessa Monfort, like the year rest and realization is in the top 100. I was like, really? The book about just sleeping? Because all she does is sleep. Like that's the whole thing.
Look, I like that book. I'm not going to hate on the book. Okay, I think I have to log into here. See, this is the thing. When you have passwords on one device and not on the other. This is a live show, okay? This is a live show. So you're going to get it. You're going to get all my in real time. But it's obvious, passwords. It's obvious people were very opinionated and they're like, okay, we have to do something about this.
Didn't quite work out the way they were expecting.
No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows, really? Here we go. Okay, so now it's telling me my password. Brilliant. Because I want to show you all this. Yeah, I have too many devices. Okay, save. Oh, brilliant. So I can share my screen now. Okay, so present, share screen. Share screen. Oh, gosh. Now this is telling me. Yeah, here we go. Share. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Brilliant. Yay, you all can see. So now these are the reader picks. So now at number 1, we have Demon Copperhead. And I love how they say number 61 on the book reviews list, or the light we cannot see. So like these books weren't on their original list. Goldfinch, Pacino, Educated. Now, I think that was the book I wanted to mention. I thought this book was very influential. I remember this book came out maybe like 2016-ish, because I had just moved. I remember everyone was talking about it. Let's see what other books.
A Little Life, the book about lots of pain. just be ready for the Kleenex.
Okay, so that's another one I've read. I loved it. Let's see what else is different. Homegoing by Yad Gassi. Listen, that book is brilliant, and I read it. I'm probably going to read it again. It's so good. I also loved Hamnet. I think it got the literary people reading because it's like Shakespeare. Normal People, Sally Rooney. Look, I
like that. That could be a romance. It's a toxic relationship, but it could be a romance if we think about it.
I love Sally Rooney, but I don't think Normal People is her best book. So I'm just gonna skip that. I didn't read.
Oh, Cersei made it.
Oh, here we go. Cersei, Cloud Cuckoo Land was good. The Book Thief was good. Covenant of Water. I don't know how I feel about that. Knicker Boys was good. What else is different? Kite Runner. Is it There? Tommy Orange, brilliant. Song of Achilles. Lessons in Chemistry.
There we go.
Lessons in Chemistry. Gone Girl made it. Okay. James Wycliffe Everett, which is brilliant. Cast is good. Nightingale is, yeah, I like the Nightingale. Who said Stephen King? Someone said Stephen King. Here we go. 11/22/63, which I think is great. That one I've read twice. The Hunger Games. We
There
have
we go. That should have made it to the top 100.
Yeah, agreed.
Like,
Hunger Games should have been in the top 100, but here it is. And I know Suzanne Collins is working on another book, Where the Crawdads Sing. Now, I know that was on the top list forever.
Forever. It was a Reese pick. It was like,
yeah, but it lived on the top list forever. The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. I love the audio, and I love Anne Patchett's writing, so I trust reading it physically.
Is that the top Tom Hanks audio? The Dutch
House? Yes. Northwoods was good. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it should be there. Piranesi was good. Just Kids, Patti Smith. The Devil in the White City. It's good, but I don't know if it should be here. Killers of the Flower Moon. Know My Name, Chanel Miller. I think that book got a lot of people talking.
Yeah.
For a nonfiction. Crying in H Mart. I love that. Was brilliant. Here we go. Harry Potter and the Deathly
Hallows. The last book, not the first one. The last book. Like, will he live or will he die? That is the question. We're not going to spoil you.
No. Clara and the Sun. That was good. I really love that book. Lincoln Highway was great. Just Mercy was great. Sapiens. I did not read the original. I read a graphic novel. Kafka on the Shore. Deacon King Kong. Great, but I don't know if it should be here. Immortal Life of Henrietta Lack. Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. Love that. Don't know if it should be here. What else? When Breath Becomes Air, Life of Pi, Girl, Woman, Other. Now I love this. This is brilliant. This is, just Black British women. This was brilliant book. This was the year the Man Booker had a Tide Prize with what's her face? What's the Handmaid's Lady?
Oh, I know. Margaret
Atwood.
Yes, that was the year when The Testament and Girl, Woman, Other tied for the Man Booker. And I was really upset because they've never tied before. I'm like, just give it to Bernadine. Okay, job. I read The Testament. I went to Barnes & Noble the morning it was open to get The Testament. But they should have just given that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, The Glass Castle is great. In the Dream House, great. Project Hail Mary, I don't know if it should be there, but it's good.
That should have been The Martian. Like,
yes, exactly.
The Martian is more likely to be the one.
Yes.
Okay,
this book in translation, brilliant. And I noticed this list has been lacking books in translation, but Drive Your Plow over the Bones of the Dead. If you're a literary lover, this one really hits. Remarkably Bright Creatures was good. The Bee Sting was good. The Vanishing Half, love to see it. 1,000 Splendid Suns. Relaxation. Shuggie Bain was great. I just don't think a lot of Americans were talking about Shuggie Bain as much, but oh my God, Europe was, the Brits were. It was a very heart-wrenching book. And A Man Called Oath, which I think was a good pick. So, hello, we went through the whole list with y'all. Right through the whole thing. So they added some, they fixed some, but romance is still lacking, obviously. Fantasy is still lacking. I'm grateful they at least put Gone Girl up there because Gone Girl deserved to be there.
Yeah.
And I still
they put Hunger Games, so at least they put
something.
Hunger Games was good. True. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. But
okay, so before we run out of time, we have to talk summer tropes. We are here to talk about summer tropes.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, welcome to Novel Night. Okay, we talk about a little of everything. Technically, today we were supposed to be talking about summer tropes, right? This is our programming calendar, but we were very obsessed with the 100 best books of the 21st century by the New York Times. I even went as far as brought up the reader list just because, we were salty about it, but we still want to hear from you. So let us know in the comments, how do you feel about the New York Times 100 best books? But now we're going to talk about summer tropes. There's so many wonderful summer tropey books that we're going to chat about today. And I'm going to let Francesca just kind of take it from here with some good recs.
Yeah, so actually, I think that summer is the perfect season to do kind of tropey reads. And I feel like people get really stuck on just looking for rom-coms because that's like a easy standard beach read that you know you're going to have fun and pick that up. But there are so many other tropes that you can incorporate in what you're reading in the summer. And probably a lot of these will reflect more on romance, but you can still apply them in other things. So one of the things that I think it's especially good for this year is summer sports. Summer Olympics are coming up, so I know that we're all going to be watching the Olympics. And then I don't know about you, but when I watch any kind of sports on TV, I want to be reading a book about it. So I definitely have all my summer kind of sports and Olympics and all of that lined up. So yeah, what are your favorites? I know that at least for me, I love kind of like water sports when it comes to Olympics books and also soccer, which I mean for me that's football, and then also baseball. I do like to read it. I hate watching it. I do enjoy watching the Olympics as far as gymnastics and water sports and soccer. So definitely I'll be watching all of that. So anything water related, surfing, all
Did
that.
did you watch the kayaking one, the canoe?
Yes, I
Like
have.
favorite sport. It's like this like weird course of water that is like, and I'm like, I love this.
Oh, definitely watch all of that.
When you said Olympics, I immediately thought about Let the Games Begin by Rufaro Faith Mazarura. It's out now. It's a romance. I actually have it on my desk because I was chatting about it just recently. It's about a girl who's always wanted to intern at the Olympics, and I chatted with the author that will be coming on the podcast eventually. But she had a lifelong dream of going to the Olympics. She is going to Paris this year, which is brilliant. So I was really happy for her. She's like, once they announced where it was happening, she's like, okay, girls, save up your coins. And she is going, so that's exciting. But she wrote an Olympic romance about a girl who always wanted to go to the Olympics. She got an internship, she goes there. And then a guy who's a sprinter. And, you know, he's won like silver medals before, but he's really going for gold. And they kind of running into each other at the Olympic Village. And, you know, there's a whole meet cute there. We see a romance unfold. But I just love the fact that even though this isn't set in Paris, where the real Olympics is happening, it's set in Greece. So it takes us back to the home of the Olympics. So I've been pitching that for all literary lovers. If you aren't turned off from the New York Times list, check out Headshot. The book is around somewhere. But it's Headshot by Rita Bullwinkle. And it is a book about a boxing tournament in Reno, Nevada. So not necessarily like Olympics, although, you know, you have all these matches like boxing, but these are girls. And it's not so much about the boxing, but it's about competition, because we really kind of get into the head of, you know, the athlete. So even though they're like physically fighting, there's so many things going through their heads, and we get the point of view of the coaches and so on. But it's really like a coming of age story. So if you were a student athlete, like I played soccer, well, football for me growing up, but, you know, that was, you know, it gave me perspective because I played sports. I played netball as well. So it was really interesting kind of getting into the mind of an athlete, so to say. And then the author played water polo, which water polo is very physically demanding. So I kind of saw how the boxing thing kind of came in, you know?
Yeah, actually for soccer, I think a good recommendation as far as romance goes, I liked For the Win by Sarah Ryder. Both of the main characters actually play professional soccer. So men's team and women's team, and they end up doing kind of like they're enemies to lovers, and they end up doing kind of like a battle of the sexes with their two teams, and they're trying to go to the national championship and all this stuff. And I think it's set in Seattle, so it's more of a US based soccer, which I also find that there is a distinction when I'm reading a book with a European or English.
Right. Yeah.
Like the vibe is different. Very different. For example, like for comparison, The Forbidden Man by Karina Haley would be completely different vibe than that one. So yeah, I think that as far as a soccer lover, I do see the differences in those. But
yeah.
And then for a baseball one that recently came out, The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson, that is more of a beta hero. He's a baseball player. There's a girl in the stands that starts heckling him. He's going through a bunch of stuff. And so she ends up feeling bad about it, messages him on social media, mistaken identity kind of thing. She doesn't say who she is. And she ends up working after for the team. And then, they develop this relationship, but he doesn't know that she's the one that kind of like messed him up with that. So I also recommend that. And obviously some older books, Changing the Game by J.C. Burton. For me, it's like one of my favorite baseball romances, kind of like a classic. He falls for his PR agent. So that's always good.
Awesome.
You, Laura.
So I just did a list and I just added these 2 books to my TBR. So Stroke by Megan Quinn, which is an Olympic swimmer.
Love that book.
He's just, delicious, and he's with somebody else.
Yeah.
And she's assistant, and so we get to hear the Megan Quinn banter. There's more books in the series. You not only get dual POV, but you also get other POV, including the original girlfriend. That you're gonna hate. That's really what the reviews are saying. So don't worry about it. So that's that. And then there's Fresh Meat by Jasmine Miller. I've known Jasmine through Instagram, and this book is a single dad nanny romance. Basically, he's an Olympic player, Olympic swimmer. Again, I'm all about the swimmer, and just basically suddenly a surprise baby showed up, and then he's like, well, I need a nanny, and that's the single dad nanny romance. And that's just catnip for me. Anytime there's a single dad who just doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, sorry to curse, there's a nanny who's going to be able to be the mother figure for the baby. So
yeah. And actually for swimmers and like actual Olympics, I have read 2 that are male romances. One is super short. It's called Synchronicity by Kira Andrews, and also Relay by Layla Rain. So both of those, all the vibes.
Synchronicity is an age gap, older hero. They're actually paired up to be divers. So it's not just swimming, they're diving things.
Yeah. Definitely that one had all this. I think I read Synchronicity for the last Summer Olympics.
Same. I was like, oh, another series that actually I read during 2016 Rio was the R.S. Gray Settling the Score, the Summer Olympics. It's a Settling the Score. It's a swimmer and a soccer player. They meet at the Olympic Villa, like as anyone does. That's they're probably giving things away, and that was a really good one. And then the second book is about a gymnast and her coach, and so if you like the gymnastic vibes, that's another one you can actually look forward. So and those are set in Rio, so it was released in 2016 when the Rio Olympics were happening.
And we'll leave we have some more sports romance recommendations. We'll definitely leave links for you guys in our notes so that you can go and check out even more
in the video description. Yes.
But what about other tropes? I also really enjoy any kind of like summer camp, and also any kind of rich lake house or beach house or anything like that. So I tend to really like those kind of books in the summer. So which ones do you recommend?
So I just read 2 summer camps. So last year I read Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is summer camp, new adult. They're both are in the college age camp, but I like actually the adult going to summer camp. That's like actually like this. So I read Until Next Summer, where they're camp counselors who were BFFs back when they were in their teenage years, and now 20 years later they're having a reunion, and they both are camp counselors. And so it's 2 storylines. So Allie Brady, they write 2. There is an author. And they write 2 storylines. So there's 2 romances, 4 total characters, and it's just delightful. And then I read One Last Summer by Kate Spencer, which is she's crashing and she's been asked to take a sabbatical. And so she goes to her summer camp reunion, which it turns out that it was going to be the last summer of that summer camp. And after 5 years of missing it, she's like trying to make all the time back. And so she ended up falling for her mortal enemy, who they actually have been sharing an award that they won at the last summer camp they attended together, and they've been like passing along this like medal or something over the past 20 years. So it's great.
Nice.
I love that. Vesna says, loved Summer of Songbirds by Christy and Harvey.
That was so good. That I love Christie's writing there, and that's actually has a historical timeline along with a present tense, I think.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, for me personally, Ali Brady for sure, because Ali Brady came to my mind. I loved what's it called? The Beach Trap.
Yes.
Because of the destined setting, like, you know, it's just everything just great. And we see the two sisters are in this book, and they inherited this beach house. So it's like one wants to sell it, one wants to keep it kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely loved. I also love Sunny Hosteen, who has this series. Why am I drawing a blank? What's the Sunny Hosteen series called? It's set in Martha's Vineyard, and it's really fun. I think she has like 2 books. Let me Google Sunny Hosteen books. But they're really transportive, and I love. Yeah, here we go. First one is Summer on the Bluff. The second is Summer on Sag Harbor, and now she has Summer on Highland Beach. So these are all set in Martha's Vineyard, which to me just screams summer and like beach house and, you know, like wealthy families going out there. And I just live for people who, in books, who go to like their second homes, or maybe they live there full time, and they're the kind of people who live where you vacation. I know there's this other author who writes books set on Fire Island.
There's quite a few. There's Jane L. Rosen, who does the Fire Island, and then on 7 Summer Weekends, and then there's Becky Chalson they both are on Fire Island, and then there's another Fire Island. This is a thriller. Well, it's a popcorn, you know, domestic. It's Bad Summer People, which is rich people who's like, let's just buy a property in Fire Island, and you know, let's make it same. And then that one's on KU, but it's actually like not a romance if you're looking for something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just found it. It's Kismet. That's the Becky Charlton book I read. It was really fun. I haven't read Serendipity yet, but I read her book Kismet. So good. Vesna is also recommending Jamie Brenner. She just saw at her local bookstore. She writes a lot of summer stories too.
I enjoy her summer books.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Her latest is on my TBR. It's like one of those I want to borrow for audio. One of the ones that I'm actually excited is a Pride and Prejudice retelling is Elizabeth of the Hamptons, which is like, it's like a summer house, like, you know, rich people living in this like ridiculous house, and then the locals are like, what is happening here? So, and I love the writing. I love Emma of 84th Street is like one of my favorite like retellings. And so I love the writing is like very television, very like TV, like just kind of like plotty movie, and it's very like engaging. So
I have to say, I love Emma of 83rd Street more than I loved Elizabeth of East Hampton, but it was still good. Like Emma 83rd Street was such a high bar. It's like, okay. Yeah. And the other one is like here, like it's near. Right? Are great. So yeah, that's a good one. It broke my heart though, Laura, that book isn't coming out till August. I'm like,
I know. It should have come out in May. Like, and I'm waiting for the audio. I started and I was like, no, this is gonna be good audio. I tend to listen to a lot of new releases on audio, like just it's easier to do. And I was like, I just wish this was like came out in, you know, but it is okay. It will be for future summers. It'll be for future summer. So, you know, always a backlist is always a pleasant thing to do.
Listen, at least where we live, we're still going to be in deep summer in August, so we'll be all right.
We're in Florida, just in case you missed it. We're going to be sweltering here. It's fine.
So I actually have a couple of recommendations too. So one that is a rich people kind of like go to a small town and take over, and the locals hate all of those rich people, is Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. And another one that I really enjoyed too, it's a duology, Rebel Air by Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward. So in that one, the girl is not rich or anything, but she does rent a house in the Hamptons, and she does need to work while she's there to pay her bills. And she ends up working at a bar, restaurant bar, whatever. And her boss, which is the love interest, he not only owns the bar, but he owns most of the town where he's at. Obviously, rich father, whatever. He's a bad boy trying to like distance himself from his father and like all this stuff. So I really enjoy both of those. And then for a summer camp, I enjoyed, God, what is it called? There's a Kay Tucker book that I really enjoy, and it's dual timeline. Say You Still Love Me.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that one. It is dual timeline, so we get to see her kind of like going back and also when they were younger. So I really love that one. Second chance romance, lake house, camp. So that one has both together. So I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was thinking to myself, another big thing in summer is weddings. Like weddings are huge. Yeah. Like, what wedding books come top of mind to you? I mean, the first thing I think of is Prestelia Williams. She has A Low Country Bride. That one came to mind. Liza and a Wedding. Is that it? Liza and a Wedding by Kevin Kwan. Yeah. Because I mean, Crazy Rich Asians had a wedding in there still, because he had to go back to Singapore for that. But this one was full on Liza and Wedding. But weddings are huge. What are some of your wedding recommendations?
So I have two that I really enjoyed. One is Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier, and that one is a wedding in Trinidad, and kind of enemies to lovers, but there's a lot of food in it, a lot of like, you know, the heroine, if I remember correctly, I don't think she lives there. So she's coming back to town, and you know, second chance romance with the guy, and you know, they had all their history, so there's a lot of bickering, and they're, you know, best man and maid of honor, and there's, you know, all the wedding drama. I love that about wedding books because there's all the drama. So that one I really enjoyed because it's also like a good armchair travel, but also like you kind of like really immerse into like the family and the culture. So it really like has that community vibe. And then I also absolutely love, like, if anybody picks a book up for like a wedding theme in the summer, they have to pick this one up. It's Moti on the Water by Layla Attar. I will never get tired of recommending it. It is a Indian main female character, and it is an Indian wedding, and she's not the one marrying. She's, you know, part of the wedding party. And the bride is marrying a Greek boy that's like super rich. So they're going on this like 2-week basically private yacht thing, which is like leading up to the big Indian wedding. And they're going through the Aegean Sea, and the heroine is supposed to be like, there's another Indian boy that, you know, they're like, oh, well, you know, you need to like try to hook up with him, the family, obviously, because they're trying to like make sure that she's set, but she's very clumsy. She's more of an awkward, shy kind of person. So she's like, no. And she starts like really vibing with the chef on the boat, who's Greek. And there's lots of food. I love when there's food in books. So lots of food, lots of water, lots of like scenery. So it's really fun. Ooh. And most of it is on the boat anyway. So
love it.
Yeah, I love it. I thought of A Wedding in Lake Como when you were talking.
Yeah.
That's another one. What's her name? I forgot the name of the author.
Is it Jennifer Probst? Is that
yes. And also Quelly Beloved. I remember I talked to Susie Dumond. She's the author of that one. It's about like a bridesmaid for hire. I know I read a book recently, or maybe not so recently, I don't remember, about it was recently, about a professional wedding objector. It was Lynn Painter's.
Yep.
It was
Right.
Lynn Painter's book, because I'm like racking my brain. Yeah, it was a Lynn Painter book. Where, yeah, because you're kind of a bit chicken, so you're not gonna just call off the wedding. You hire a professional objector. So whatever Lynn Painter's latest book is, that's
The Love Wager. The Love Wager.
yes, exactly. Yeah, so weddings.
Yeah.
Any other summer tropes that are top of mind? I know we have lists that we're going to leave in the show notes.
Yes.
So you'll
Definitely vacation. I mean, any kind of road trip, vacation, anything like that. I think it's also perfect for summer. I mean, unless they're traveling somewhere that's snowing, but other than that, I think that it's great for summer.
Yeah, true. Road trip books are good.
Yeah. So for vacations, I actually liked For Vacation Only by Mila Nix. That one is the hero is jilted. So like he's going on his honeymoon cruise alone, and he ends up falling for the singer of the cruise. So that one was fun. Again, lots of water apparently in my recommendations today. And then also I enjoyed Where Sea Meets Sky by Karina Haley. So on that one, the two main characters kind of have a fling, and the girl is from New Zealand, and she has to go back home, and the hero's like, but I really like her. So he just decides to go and find her without calling her, without saying anything. He just like picks up his backpack and like goes to New Zealand, and then they're traveling throughout New Zealand. Obviously things happen and it's not that simple, so I don't want to spoil it for people, but there's definitely a lot of travel through that book, and it's kind of a series. So the other book I think is set in Italy, so there's also travel in that one. That one's called Racing the Sun. So both of those great like vacation traveling around reads.
Yeah. I thought of The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. How original.
I have a couple. So I would say I started listening to this audiobook and I want to finish it off. Is The Resort by Sarah Ox, which is a mystery thriller set in a resort, tropical vacation, but plotty and twisty, and it can give you nightmares if you're listening at night. So, and then the other one, it's actually, if you like Below Deck and you like the super yachts and stuff like that, there's actually a book called Below Deck, very original, by Tara Sirek. It's a very funny, but it's about yachties and principal and falling in love when they're not supposed to, and it's just forbidden, and it's great. So yeah, Below Deck, let's just think about just going for that.
Yeah,
I remember those yachty books. And I just looked behind me. We have Here We Go Again by Alison Cochrane that just came out this year. That's a road trip book as well. There's another one I'm drawing a blank on, but
I also like You with a View by Jessica Joyce. That's another road trip with the grandparents actually TikTok, they went viral and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Lots of road trips.
Lots of summary books. We'll include links in the show notes. Next time we'll do better at keeping watch at time, because we ran away with the New York Times book list. Like, if you're just joining us, or if you made it this far, replay crew, thank you. But we really went off on the New York Times list. We even ended up talking about Goodreads. We even talked about Book of the Month. We really went down the rabbit hole. But we are so excited to have you all here. What do we have next week, Laura?
Summer rom-coms! Yay! Yes. And then we'll have bookish tea, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
Yes. So these are our upcoming shows. Today we did a little summer trope at the end, after the New York Times rant. But next week we'll be talking about summer rom-coms, because we are dragging out the summer. I don't know about y'all, but not ready to head into the fall. Love the fall, but let's hang on to summer a bit longer. So we'll be chatting about summer rom-coms next week, and then the week following we'll be talking about some bookish tea, because there are lots of things happening in the bookish space. I mean, Francesca, is there ever a shortage of tea?
Never.
Always something. So I hope you will join us for that as well. Again, we do Novel Nights live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, 7 p.m. New York time, if you have to do the conversion. So once it's 7 p.m. in New York, we are going live on a Thursday. So we hope you'll join us next week and the week after that. Anything else, ladies? Anything I'm forgetting, missing? No?
That's it.
Well, I hope everyone has a good evening. Replay crew, I hope you have a good day, a good rest of your week. And I hope you'll join us next week, again, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.